Mina,
Hi.
welcome to the Undraped Artist podcast. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me. Hi, Jeff.
So, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's
Mohtasham?
yeah, actually, it's Mohtasham.
Mohtasham. Okay,
But
great.
I think I'm pronouncing it right. I don't speak Farsi and I'm half Iranian, so I don't have like the real pronunciation, but
Whatever. Hey, it's it. However you pronounce it's right to me. So that sounds good. Well, hey,
awesome.
sorry it took so long to get together. That was
Oh, no
tough. I'm
worries.
sorry about that. I'm glad we're finally here though and get to talk.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I've been listening to your podcast for a while, so it's really cool.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Well, first of all, your work is spectacular, which is why I invited you on. It's absolutely gorgeous. How long have you been painting?
Thank you. I started painting in 2017. So I graduated high school and went to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Art, and that's where I started. So I guess it's been 7 or 8 years now.
Really, that's it.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, you're doing some great work. So, have you always wanted to be an artist, or is this something that came later in life?
Well, I grew up just making things all the time. I didn't really know that this kind of art was out there as far as like representational work or working from life was completely like brand new to me. But growing up, I think, I mean, art was always encouraged by both of my parents. So I remember just like drawing or painting. I
Art
think
as
we
a
all,
hobby was encouraged, or art as a profession?
um, from my dad's side, art as a profession was definitely encouraged. It's something that he wanted to do growing
Hmm.
up, but he escaped the revolution in Iran and wasn't able to pursue what he wanted to. So I think for him, it was kind of like a dream that he wanted for himself, but didn't have the opportunity. So he really encouraged the like pursuing it professionally. And then my mom was always supportive of anything. So
Hmm.
she comes from more of a musical background, I would say. And yeah, but they were both really supportive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, you said you didn't know that this type of art was even an option, though. So, what about your dad? What was his vision for a professional career for you?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. Well, the kind of work that I think he was interested in was definitely more inspired by like surrealism and like
Hmm.
kind of reminds me of maybe like Persian miniatures, just more imaginative and abstract. And I think narrative was a strong point for him too. And so I kind of remember mimicking that as a kid, like looking at his drawings and um, kind of also trying to like invent stories out of my head.
Hmm.
It wasn't really serious. Like I remember doing that, but I was playing music just as much or like doing like ceramics in high school and stuff. So it didn't really seem to matter what, like I just knew I liked making stuff. So going to art school was kind of, it felt like just like I knew I wanted to do something in that world, but I didn't quite know what it would be.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when did you graduate from high school?
2017.
Okay, 2017. Dang,
Yeah.
that's crazy. You're so young. Go. That's amazing how much you've accomplished. And so how did you know where to go from there at 2017?
Yeah, I did a lot of college visits. I did really struggle to find a place, and I actually, as soon as I found PAF, it just felt like a no-brainer. Like I visited, and it seemed like they were really offering something like legitimate and just like rich. And I was struggling to find a school that offered like technical training. And I at the time I didn't really know about ateliers. I didn't know that they were a thing even. But I knew that it would be important to learn how to draw, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was debating between, like, I think considering programs like Brown University, like they have a partnership, I think, with RISD. And for a while, I was thinking of maybe applying to a normal college with a good art program and then
Mm-hmm.
kind of going in undecided. But yeah, I found PAFA and then I just applied early decision. And that was the only place I applied to.
Is that the only place you've studied?
No, so I did my BFA there, and then I went straight to Lime Academy for 2 years.
Okay.
I went through their core program, ended up teaching there full time for a couple years, and then just moved back to Philly like last summer.
No kidding. How long did their core program take you? Just a couple years?
Yeah, so they have a drawing year and then a painting year. So I did both.
That's it? They only have it's only a 2-year program?
Um, it was a 2 year program at the time. I think like you have the option to extend it now. So some people stay for a third or fourth year, but as far as the core program, I guess it's technically just drawing and painting, and then those consecutive years are more like
Hmm.
repeating some of the continuation of the painting year.
And who did you study with? Well, both at PAFA and at Lyme. Who were your biggest influences at those schools?
Well, at PAFA, I've definitely Peter Van Dyke,
I
Scott
thought so.
Noel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter has been a huge mentor to me. And there were a few artists that were really influential there that I didn't have many classes with, but I would sit in sometimes with
Mm-hmm.
Stuart Shills, Ken Cooley. And I think the concepts that they offered were more steeped in like abstraction and
Mm-hmm.
collage or like acrylic painting. And so I really loved like the freedom that I found in that, and um, the kind of, I guess, just playfulness of like really just getting into the paint. And yeah, it felt really like a good counter to some of the more structured drawing approaches. So those were people I studied with at PAFA. And then at Lyme, I went the first year that it opened, so it was a smaller faculty at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I was mainly working with Jordan and Amaya and Hollis Dunlap, and Eddie Rochat. And
Okay. So
um,
David Baird wasn't there yet.
not yet, no.
Oh, because you guys have a similar aesthetic. So I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
maybe you had studied with him. Okay.
No, we hadn't studied together, but I think we share a lot of common interests in our paintings, and
Yeah.
we were like talking online at some point too, like in 2021 or so, like just like internet chatting
Mm-hmm.
about painting. So yeah, I do think we have like very similar tastes. And I monitored a workshop that he taught at Lyme, and that was the end of my painting year there. But by the time he became faculty, I was also on the faculty.
Okay. And you, how long were you on the faculty?
I guess it was 2 years. Yeah. Well, my painting year, I was part-time. I was teaching one class a week, I think. So I was kind of like a student teacher, and then I transitioned into just being a faculty member after that.
Hmm. Is that common? I mean, is that an option for every student to be faculty, or do they approach you at some point and invite you?
More the latter. They will approach you, and then yeah, I think some students end up. I think what I did, like being taking the full-time program, but then on a Saturday or something, teaching and continuing education, or like substituting, and then eventually kind of transitioning into teaching more.
Hmm. So how come you didn't stay there? How come you moved back to Philly?
Yeah, well, it was a little bit on my mind for a while. I think the main reason for me was just to have more space away from a community of artists, which I think is like, it's a really, really special thing about a place like that, to be surrounded by so many influences. But for the kind of person I am, and like how like where I am in my career too, of just having studied like so intensely at so many different places, or not places, but so many different mindsets. And
Mm-hmm.
then being at this point of like wanting to unpack all of that, it felt like very difficult for me to be able to like be in that mode in my studio and then transition into teaching a more academic approach in the classroom. And so um yeah, I think just wanting to be able to show up to my studio without so much like baggage, and um also just I do miss the city, I think, like being around a bit more happening. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Is
So
that where you were born and raised in Philly?
no, Virginia, Northern Virginia.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to sort of poke a little harder at that. I'm not sure I completely understand. So initially, I mean, I get the latter part. You had said you just kind of don't want all the baggage of having to teach. You want to get to the studio and just make paintings. I get that. But earlier in the statement, you said something like you needed more space from other artists.
Mhm.
Is it that you felt like you needed to sort of purge all the influences so you could figure out what you're doing? Is that what it was? Or was that part
Basically,
of it?
yeah. I'm just super impressionable, I think,
Yeah.
and everybody is doing such amazing work and such different work too. And I think that's like it's just such a like really wonderful thing about Lyme is like how different the faculty is. Like it's not stagnant. Like
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, it's not like an echo chamber, I guess, but being someone who just recently transitioned out of being a student, I think I felt inclined to maybe like try put on those people's hats, and like
Oh
I'd see
yeah.
one person work and be like, oh, I should be doing that, and then seeing another person work and like, why am I not doing that? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just felt this like confusion within myself, and I also just do like I love being in the classroom. It's like a really fun place, but I think it's also a bit safe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I could feel myself sort of avoiding like inevitably what I would have to face going into the studio and like having to unpack everything. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I just felt that, and it was just growing a bit stronger. Like I know I'm avoiding something and I'm not like kind of facing that. So
So you feel like you had a scheduled class. It was relatively what was expected of you to be there, and so you had that responsibility. But the studio, you had to be self motivated, and it was easier for you to just focus on the teaching instead of getting into the studio.
yeah, a bit like that. Or maybe it's more like the kind of work that I found myself making. I wasn't sure if I was making because um hmm, that's a good question. Yeah, I think it was less that because I am used to like at PAFA it was a very free form, and
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't anybody really like you had to be self-motivated if you wanted to learn anything because it was like sort of chaotic and disorganized.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't a problem for me. I think it was just yeah, the feeling of like my work should look like
Yeah.
something,
Yeah. That makes sense.
and not being able to be intuitive because I felt like I should be like meeting all of these parameters, not because anybody was pressuring me to, but because I just
Well,
was surrounded.
you're with
Yeah.
masters. You're just surrounded by other masters. Like
Yeah.
I could totally see being in that same situation and questioning everything I painted
Yeah,
because
exactly.
because
Totally.
everyone's painting so well. It's like, why
Yeah.
am I painting this crap when Jared Brady's or David Barrett is painting this and Alex Venezia is painting that and Jordan Sokol's painting that and so on and so forth and Maya's painting that. Be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I suck. That's how I would feel. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I suck. I'm throwing my brushes away.
Oh yeah, no, it
Yeah.
was yeah. And it's funny because a lot of us were in the same like building where our studios were. So I
Mm-hmm.
by and see like Alex Venezia is doing this amazing painting, and then yeah, it's like David's over there and Thomas is upstairs, and so and I loved it. Like I think the conversations were really cool, and yeah, like there's a kind of like comfort in knowing that everybody's kind of in their corner working and like doing something.
Mm-hmm.
It was really motivating too. So it was a really hard decision for
I
me to
bet.
I just
Because it's not a win-win. You know,
no.
you saw that you needed to get away from those influences because you were afraid they were affecting your authenticity, is what I'm getting. But at the same time, you're getting rid of all those influences. That's a sacrifice at the same time. That'd be a
Yeah.
really hard decision.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I was just like, I think I've had that feeling long enough where, or I had that feeling long enough where I felt like it was just growing and like if I didn't act on it, I would regret it or something.
Well,
So
how do
I
you
kind
feel
of,
about it now? Now that you've done
I
it?
think it was in hindsight, I'm really glad. I do feel like the work I've been making now, I'm not sure, like, I guess I don't really judge the outcome so much as like the feeling that I have when I'm making the work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm much more able to be present and like my mind is a lot quieter now
Mm-hmm.
making the work. So I guess I'm trying to trust that and let the outcome be whatever it is. Yeah.
What about socially? Do you get lonely now that you're in your own studio and painting by yourself all the time?
At first I did. I think also just like being in a city and like navigating building friendship as an adult was like the first experience I've had with that too. Because in a school setting, it's easy, but
Yeah, how
it
do
was
you do
lonely
that?
at first. Well, I just like show up and I adopted a cat, so that was
Well,
my first.
there you go. You got a friend. You're good to go.
Yeah, and I was like, that seems like an avoidance thing. So uh, and then I asked the pet store people like, so like where do people make friends here? And then um but no,
Of
I've
course, they
literally
would know.
yeah, I know. Like as I'm holding this cat.
Did you
Yeah,
actually ask him that?
I actually did.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like
hilarious.
legit being 100% serious. I would yeah, I just would walk into places and be like, hey, like does anyone know like where to meet people? And so which is like totally out of my comfort zone. I'm not like extroverted. Or maybe I don't know, actually, maybe I am. But yeah, it's been interesting. I think I'm making friends outside of the art community too, which has been probably a healthy thing just to like broaden my life experience.
Yeah.
'Cause I really was just like I was a teenager, I went to PAFA, and then since then, and like just been in the art world or like the art school world.
Hmm.
Um, so it does feel like I kind of like blinked and now I'm 27 and like feel like I'm still kind of lacking in some like broader life sort of way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? What are you doing to get a social life?
Well, that's a great question. I'm thinking.
Are you going to bars? You
Um,
going to dance clubs? You going to church? You go, I mean, what you go, what are you
oh,
doing?
oh my God, I can't share everything. So,
I'm just curious because this is, well, I'll tell you why I find it interesting because I was just talking to my wife this morning as we were getting out of bed, and she's like, I don't really have any friends anymore. And I was like, and she was sort of lamenting it. And I said, well, what about so and so and so and so and so and so? Yeah, but I mean good friends. And then I start thinking about it. I'm like, all my friends are out of state online, other than if there's a few here, but and mostly artists. And so it's not that I'm on a hunt. I'm content that way, frankly. But it makes me curious how someone in your situation, who's so young and actually looking for a social life, how you do it. I wouldn't know
yeah,
where to start at this point.
yeah. Um, Well, it is really challenging, and I think I've just been trying to say yes to things I normally wouldn't.
Yeah.
And it's not always like fun. Like I somehow ended up at like a sports bar watching an Eagles game and like uh surrounded by just like jerseys and stuff. And like that was definitely like not my scene. And there were a lot of like, or not a lot, but there were moments like that where I kind of was just like, where am I and how did I end up here? Um, but at the same time, it's kind of interesting too. Like even if it's not my scene or like my people necessarily, it's another kind of door that I can open and like peek into a different,
Mm-hmm.
which must somehow influence the studio work too. I think that like just having those experiences in some way like make me more motivated to go to the studio. Like I'll just have an excursion out in the real world and then kind of want to get back to the studio. But I think otherwise I would be like pretty stagnant and lonely, and the work might get sort of self-referential too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah.
you can't really escape influences. I mean, that's in part what you've done. It's tried to escape influences because, but you can't because you have your phone and you have computers and you social media. So are you doing anything to regulate that as well in order to isolate yourself, or are you still on social media scrolling
Mm,
other artists' work regularly?
yeah, yeah, Instagram is like it's so tough. I guess I limit scrolling through my feed that much. Like I'll get on to post stuff or like get sucked into like reels of whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but like unrelated to art. But I don't really scroll through my feed as much anymore or like stories. Yeah.
And that's an intentional decision.
Yeah, and also just I don't want to be on my phone as much. Like I
Right.
definitely like find myself doom scrolling and feeling horrible. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um yeah, I think that's just been like a priority to get like physically healthy too, and like yeah, the screen stuff, like I think also like with being in a place that I don't know as many people, like loneliness, it's easier to just like switch on my phone and like try to, you know, get some kind of like social stimulation, but instead of doing that, trying to like actually get out of the house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. So, all right, let's back up a little bit to Pafa. What did,
Mhm.
can you tell me a little bit about what you got from Peter Van Dyke? Because as you probably know, I interviewed him. I find him
Yeah.
really interesting and incredibly talented, especially his perspective. Holy crud. But
Yeah.
what is it that helped you the most in studying with him? I'm curious.
Yeah, that's hard to say. I mean, it's like, what didn't I learn from Peter? Well, he was my first drawing teacher. I think I literally had him on the first day of school.
Hmm.
And let's see. I mean, yeah, if it wasn't for Peter, I don't think I would be doing this, to be honest.
Wow,
Like,
that's quite a compliment.
I remember like it must have been like the second or third week of school. Like there was this exercise he had us do where we walked in and he had set up like cubes on like different cubes all around the classroom, and our task was just draw the cube on the table. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking like kind of like underestimating it, I guess. Like
Thinking it was
I
sort of juvenile.
yeah, I remember thinking like, oh, like why are we doing like I like everybody knows how to draw a cube. Like we all did that. And I think like yeah, we could all draw a cube probably from our head, but like that was my first real experience of drawing something that I was looking at. And I think when I like just realized how um like I tried to do that, I failed, and I realized how counterintuitive it all was, and it just like shattered my world. Like I realized like nothing is like everything that I thought I knew about like seeing the world and like experiencing the world just felt like it was false, or at least had to be questioned.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe maybe it shouldn't have been that like earth-shattering, but for some reason it just like really, like I remember that moment so vividly. And I think from that point I was just like so obsessed. And
So it
yeah,
drove you to conquer it? Is that what was it sort of like a personal insult from the cube that you just wanted to tackle? You're like, no, screw you, I'm getting this.
I don't know. It was like, oh my God, like if I can't do this, like, or if this isn't what I think it is, then like nothing is what I think it is. And so it just like made me like need to figure it out. And I still I don't have an answer,
Yeah.
um, but it sparked the curiosity, I think, of like questioning vision and like what, like how we're taking information in. And yeah, I just really enjoyed that process of like, and I think it also just um like the way of working that's more of like an investigation. And I think this is like also a strong like Peter influence thing, I think, where like the painting process itself is like kind of an excavation where you're just kind of turning over rocks and like, oh, what's this? Or like, what'll happen if I do this? And so I think that really stuck with me, or it like formed me from when I really first started.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's still sort of the way I work, where it's less based on the product or the outcome and more just like having a really engaging process.
Hmm. So where did you go from there with him? What was your, as it got, let me put it this way, as it got more and more complex, what kinds of challenges did he give you that made you feel like you were growing?
Um, well, yeah, I mean, with painting, it really started to grow too, because I think those were just sort of like the early fundamental drawing classes that I was taking with him. And I think, yeah, when it branched out into like color and how to see um, like abstractly like shapes of color, I think that's also something that really opened up my world. And um, yeah, sorry, what was the question again?
I don't remember, but I have another question.
Okay, here you
Oh,
go.
I do remember. It was what other things did he challenge you to do that you feel like were most influential? What other assignments? I mean, the cube obviously moved you,
Oh, yeah, I
but
see.
what other things do you remember?
Um, I remember we had to draw like shapes. He had mapped out different like multifaceted like shapes. They were flat, like polygon.
Two-dimensional?
Yeah, yeah, two-dimensional like
Okay.
shapes, and then he would put them on the wall, and we just had to like copy them.
Oh,
And
funny. That's what I do with my students.
yeah, or even there was an even simpler one of like just lines of different lengths, and you had to like kind of gauge the length and angle of that angle, or sorry, the line.
Hmm.
And but they were all like just very like strict exercises, but really revealing at the same time because they were so simple. It was
Mm-hmm.
like again, it was that feeling of like, oh my God, I can't draw this line. Like um so yeah, those really stuck with me
I'm
quite a bit.
surprised he does that. I didn't know anyone else was doing that, those two things.
Yeah, it was in like the first like intro drawing class that I did
Yeah,
with him.
it's surprising how hard it is just to draw a two-dimensional shape that's multifaceted
Yeah.
accurately, isn't it?
I've been doing Jeff's online mentorship program for about a year now, and it is awesome. Everything is online, super streamlined. If you can be there, I mean, you have the ability to talk to him once a week and he can review your work and help you. If you can't be there, it's pre-recorded. You can go back and even re-watch things if you missed something during class or couldn't be there. So the online portion of it is almost better than real life because you can always go back to it, which is awesome. The demos are recorded. it's just like all available whenever you need it. And I'm a stay-at-home mom of 4, and my time is limited, and it's also very interrupted. And so to be able to go back has been clutch for me. And you get to work with Jeff Hein, who's awesome. He's tough. The assignments are simple, but difficult, and they're difficult to make us all better. And he's able to give us these assignments, coach us through it, help us stay excited to progress. And so it's just been a great experience. I am so grateful that he has been willing to take time away from his own art to offer all of us to have it. So if you're thinking about doing it, it's amazing.
To learn more about how you could have me as a personal mentor, check out the link to HEINAtelier.com in the show notes or video description.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have students do it and I just know they're thinking, I mean, they've told me in many cases, this assignment seems really overly simple. And then they try it and they're humbled and they're like, oh crap, this is a lot harder than I thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was just like, I got so addicted to that feeling of like,
Of being humbled?
of being humbled, but then also like that payoff of like being able to just like if I stick with it and just keep like questioning it, that I could arrive at something that kind of feels like what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And I never know if it's like that thing exactly, but like there's a sensation of like getting a likeness of something that just like I just think that's like such an addicting feeling.
It is. It is so addicting.
Yeah, I'm sure you know that like as a portrait painter, like
Yeah.
I don't know, just when that all comes together, it's like there's nothing like that feeling.
Mm-hmm. Especially with a portrait, I feel like, for me anyway, it's like there's just a moment where that person comes to life and you're just like, holy crap, it started as a white canvas and now that person's looking back at me. There's nothing like that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like I don't know, it feels kind of insane because the whole process is like so grueling to get there, but
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think but I guess like anything difficult is sort of like that. Like it's just it's worth it when you get to that point.
Yeah. So you'd mentioned earlier about how he taught you how to see shapes of color. And I'm curious if you could expound on that a little bit, because I've heard it put that way from a few of my guests, including him, probably
Mhm.
David.
Mhm.
I'm not so sure it's the way I see color. And so I'm not, and maybe it is. So I'm curious if maybe you could expound on that. What do you mean by shapes of color? Is it that you're isolating specific planes based on their hue or chroma or whatever? Is that what you're doing?
Um, yeah, I guess I feel like, well, I can't say it's planes because sometimes I feel like a color or shape can connect across barriers of form and
True,
describe
especially in
multiple
skin.
things simultaneously. Yeah, so it's hard to say that it's a plane. I think even someone like you and Uglo, where it's very like faceted,
Mm-hmm.
there's still colors that merge borders of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess I think of it in terms of like the Hawthorne school of painting, like do you know like the Charles Hawthorne mud head?
I'm not sure I do.
They were like little palette knife paintings that were focused on just getting like the simplest, um, broadest like aggregate colors. So
Mm-hmm.
a person backlit by sunlight, and it would be like one color for the space around the head, one color for the spot of um the head like under the hat or something. And so it was just about like tuning those color relationships to the biggest possible masses.
Okay. So so is this what you mean here?
Yeah, yeah, basically that. But
Just
I think
really, really simplifying it
yeah.
into color shapes.
Yeah, like that one your mouse was just on the with the yellow hat.
Oh, with the yellow hat. Okay. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
can see the connection. So that shape exercise that you did early on, that one we just talked about,
Mhm.
it is directly connected to this because now what you're just finding those shapes but in colors
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
stitching them together almost like mosaic tile.
yeah, and this is where like Ken Cooley, that collage artist that I mentioned before,
Mm-hmm.
that really felt like it bridged the gap even more because he's doing the same thing but with paper. And so it was like literally cutting out or tearing paper shapes and collaging them into place. And I think that is kind of like how I try to start all of my paintings. And then as far as like refinement goes, that just being something I can like calibrate
Mm-hmm.
um, to fine tune that or not. But as I fine tune that, just trying to stay um, respectful, I guess, of this like the broadest possible impact.
Mm-hmm. So how do you take something like that approach to painting, and then bring it to lime and study with Alex Venezia and Jordan Sokol and Amaya, who are more, at least from what I can tell, they're more focused on form than patchwork of color.
Mhm. Well, I think I went because I wanted to have that kind of tension.
Right.
And I could, at the end of PAFA, I felt like pretty solid as far as like being able to see color and like put it in generally like a location that made sense. But it definitely, as far as drawing ability went, I was definitely floundering a bit, and it it just felt too much like I would get the drawing if I was lucky, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't like that feeling of like not being anchored to any kind of like process that produces like I guess a more um solid outcome each time. So I went to Lyme, I think, seeking to counteract some of the flatter thinking and really try to understand more scientifically, I guess, or analytically, like what was actually happening.
Hmm.
So things like even the like anatomy classes with Eddie, like those were really, really like interesting to me as far as like from like just how scientific it can get to. Um,
Hmm.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you
but it
feel
was
like you have implemented that into your new work. First of all, as I'm looking at the slideshow of your work while you're talking, I can totally see that you have a solid grasp on form too. It's particularly like the donut one that came up a little while in that face that's up right now.
mm,
You definitely have that solid grasp of form. So, I mean, would you say that most of that you picked up at Lyme?
um yeah, I think so. And definitely like things like cast drawing and like a longer figure pose, like we would be doing like 200-hour drawings, and I think that like it,
200 hours?
I think the cast drawings were around that. Yeah. Yeah.
Holy
I'm
crap.
pretty sure. I feel like I need to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure it was
No,
around.
I've heard stuff like that. I've heard that before from about other ateliers. I just,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, every time I hear it, it shocks me. That's so many hours on a drawing. Are we talking like
Yeah.
18 by 24?
Yeah, or smaller. I mean, those it was
Wow.
a little under life size. So yeah, like the feature casts or the masks were definitely under 18 by 24.
Are they doing window shading at Lime? Working?
No,
No, they're not. Okay.
no, there it has a much more broad kind of painterly approach where it you're kind of working in masses or like glazes of graphite.
Mm-hmm. Constantly adding more and more dark as you
Yeah,
scan back over it.
yeah, and keying the dark sort of early on, so you kind of know where you're going with it. And then, but it's always flexible. I think I really appreciated that about the process there too, is that at any time, if you saw a drawing error, you were expected to edit that and refine it. So it wasn't like you finish your block in and you just have to stick with that.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
200. That's a wild. I mean, there's a lot to learn during that 200 hours.
yeah.
So it's
Honestly,
not that
it
I'm
felt like,
against it. It's just a lot of time.
yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't have done it ever like otherwise. So I think that like I really needed to have that like more disciplined approach, I think. Because I do have a tendency to work like all over the paintings all the time. So it's very hard for me to like focus on one spot and like actually like commit to it and resolve it. So it did give me that ability, I think, to focus.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, one thing I've learned as a teacher is students, granted, even though I'm not setting up casts for 200 hours for my students, I mean, they are putting a lot of hours into them, but one thing that I've seen over the years in teaching is that students always want to start over if things start to fall apart. They're like, oh
Mhm.
man, it's not working. I just need to start over. And I always tell them, no, 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 you got it. This is where you learn the most. When you're fixing your errors and you're pushing through, that's when you really learn. If you keep starting over, you're avoiding the lessons that are toward the end or even the middle of the process. You're
Mhm.
just working on the beginning over and over and over again. So I
Yeah.
could definitely see the value in that and just pushing yourself to the absolute limit
Yeah.
on a drawing like that.
Kind of makes me also like going back to like somewhere like PAFA, I think um because it was sort of like chaotic, you kind of had to like just make these messes in your work and like figure out how to like pull things together. Like maybe you would meet with your teacher and like I don't know, I'd see Peter or Scott like a couple times a week or something, but throughout that week it was very much like I think this is what they meant and like let me
Mm,
try this. Um yeah, but I think yeah, so much of it is just like I think as frustrating as those moments were, it really learned so much from those mistakes, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. Another philosophy that I have in teaching, which I think you're kind of alluding to, is that I try and allow my students to suffer for a little while. And in other words, I want them to kind of work through things that they're not familiar with a little bit on their own so that when I do demo for them, they know all the right questions and they know what they're looking for. Like
Right.
they're looking for specific answers. So have you
Yeah.
ever watched a demo where it's just like let's say you're just learning to draw and you watch a painting demo and you
Yeah.
literally have no idea what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
You don't even know what to ask because it's all such a mystery. There is absolutely no context to what they're doing
Yeah.
in your, your skill set. So you just don't even you walk away and you're like, I literally learned nothing. It looked like magic.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to avoid. And it sounds like that's what you're describing to some degree when you were left alone at PAFA, where you just had to suffer a little bit. And then when they gave you instruction, it's like, okay, now I know what to ask. I have all of these questions, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
Is that what you're sort of
Oh, totally.
suggesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like more data for the problem that you're having. And yeah, and I do feel like, yeah, so much of it, I mean, still really looks like magic to me when other people do it. But yeah, there's definitely like enough experience now where it feels like I can relate at least to what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So tell me about, I mean, with your paintings, actually, let's pull up your paintings right now. What's better, your website or your Instagram? What do you think?
Maybe my Instagram is probably a bit more up to date.
Okay. All right. Yeah, these are remarkable. Oh my gosh. So good. So, one thing I've noticed is in your work, you're painting in layers. It appears you're painting in layers. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
but you paint rather thin. You're not really piling it on. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, I don't know. So I guess layers, not it's not like strictly painted in any way. I guess it does start fairly thin and flat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Try to cover the surface as early on as possible. And then there are areas that just get repainted a lot, so the paint gets thicker, but it's not super intentional or planned, I guess, like where those areas are that get more layers or less.
So the layers are literally just you continuing to tackle the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a very selective process where I've got layer A, layer B, layer C.
Yeah, not at all. No,
Okay.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I just really struggle to have like any organized process. So it's kind of like whatever happens, happens, and each painting feels a little bit different.
That's not all bad though. It keeps it fresh.
Yeah, I do think it's like I can enter the painting from anywhere, which it does feel like a little bit more free.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to like I can't touch something in the painting because it's more resolved or something.
Right. There are no rules. You can just do whatever the heck you want.
Right, right.
Man, some of these edges are just, I always crack myself up when I talk like this because we all talk like this, but we're such dorks. But I don't know why that edge is just so cool. It's
Thanks.
so razor sharp. And then some of them, technically, you could, because all these edges don't turn, they're all part of a box and part of folded paper. They all
Mhm.
could be that hard and it would be a reasonable decision. But I love how you've got it mixed between just a few really crisp edges and a lot of these broken edges.
Mm. Yeah, I guess it might not, I don't want to say it's like planned, but something like that edge will, like when I'm setting up a still life for looking at something, I will be like really struck by something of like, oh, I want that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then so there is intention in that. Yeah.
Hmm. Does it have, when you make a crisp edge like that, you know
Mhm.
what I'm saying when I say that all these edges could be technically
Yeah.
be hard because it's all paper thin, right? So there's no turning form.
Yeah.
But it still works very well in looking like folded paper. Um, what is it about those two edges, the one here and the one here, that you felt was necessary to make it so razor sharp as opposed to all the other edges that are technically equivalent in their lack of form or lack of
Yeah.
um, not form. They're flat, flat planes that don't need a soft edge.
Mm. Yeah, well, that is like so interesting because I do feel like, I mean, when you're looking at something, it's gonna look sharp, even if you're like staring at a contour and a shadow or something where like
Right.
it's technically supposed to be soft. Like we've all had that experience of like looking at something and like cutting it out a bit too much.
Right.
But I guess I'm thinking with something like that, like paper, like all of those edges could technically be as sharp as that.
Right. Yeah.
But there's this like feeling of like looking at something quickly where like if I just kind of like glance at the setup, like there are moments like if I close my eyes, I can remember like certain parts of that experience a bit more clearly than other things. And like that contrast of that like paper corner against that cup or that shadow, like that's something that I almost like the impact of that is just like stronger compared to
Oh, I'm
maybe
so glad I asked that question. That's brilliant.
or it's like,
Hmm.
when you look at like a really bright light and you close your eyes and then you see like those spots of
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like not everything leaves that impression, but there are moments that feel like just more yeah, more prevalent.
Is it contrast? Is that the thing? Contrast in value that makes it that way? Or is it something about its shape? Something about its color contrast?
I guess it's hard to know, like to separate those things. I think it's all just like simultaneously like happening. Maybe it's also just like that pink against the yellow, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, because
Um,
Daniel Keyes, that his thing is sharp edges in high contrast areas, which obviously fits what you did. And
mhm.
I'm wondering if it's that rigid for you. I'm not. I bet it's not that rigid for him. That's just something he said. But that's why I bring that up because I just wonder if that's specifically something you're looking for. Ooh, this is really high contrast. Sharpen up that edge. Doesn't sound like it is. Sounds like it's a little more intuitive for you.
I think it's a bit more intuitive. And it depends, I think, on every painting, every setup is
Hmm.
different, like what attracts me about it. Or it might not even be like um something like the value could be really close and not have any contrast at all, but maybe I want the separation of the color to be really crisp, so I'll put like a sharper edge there. But again, it's
Okay.
like if I'm staring at a still life, like no matter what I look like, it could be soft or sharp depending on how I see it. Like, am I looking directly at it or is it in my periphery? And so there's such a like I don't know, like it does feel much more of like a creative process in that way. Like there isn't necessarily like a correct edge that I'm
Hmm.
everything else to. Um,
Is that
yeah.
idea of looking in your periphery something that you use often? I mean, is that how you think when do you focus on the focal point and then paint everything else as though it's in the peripheral?
Um, I do think about that. That was definitely a big thing, like in like with cast drawing, for example, like having the sharpest edge maybe in like a higher contrast area, and then kind of like softening, I guess in like almost like a photographic sense, like having a focal point and like
Hmm.
diffusion away from that. But I think I do think about the peripheral vision quite a bit, but more as a way to just see different options in a way.
Hmm.
Like I'll I won't hyperfixate on like one moment being the focal point, but almost just using it as a tool, like in the process. Like how can I see this color in relation to everything else if I look at like this other thing over there? Does that make sense, sort of?
I think so. Yeah. So,
Losing.
excuse me. So this, all right, I
Mhm.
had a question and now I lost it for, I totally lost. The problem is I get so many questions in my head and then I start to lose track of them. Oh, so when you're looking at something like this,
Mhm.
and you had mentioned earlier that there is a part of the painting or part of the still life that sort of jumps out at you. That's the thing that you keep wanting to stare at, or and in this case, it was this little edge, and the rest of it sort of becomes like second or lower priority, maybe. You didn't put it this way, but this is the way I understood it.
Yeah.
In those cases, I mean, is that something you do with every painting? Do you look at a still life and ask yourself before you even start painting, what is it that if I turn away right now, I'm going to remember, and then decide at that point that that's you're going to be the part that you harden, make high contrast, whatever the case may be? Or is it something that you kind of find along the way and maybe even changes throughout the process?
It's both in that. So I think that the first thing that you said, that's kind of like the reason to start the painting of like, oh,
Because
I
you're
love this.
excited about that edge, the cup and
Yeah.
the paper. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, I need to paint that. Like that's the thing that's like getting me excited to do the painting.
Okay,
And
but
then,
before you finish answering that, so let's say with this edge, you're super excited about that contrast and that cast shadow and edge and stuff. Do you, at that point, realize that the rest of the painting, like this, I don't even know what this is in the background. What is this thing?
it's like a little Japanese doll on top of a can of shellac.
Yeah, like I can't even tell, but it looks so great though. It doesn't matter. It looks so great. So as you're focused on this one area, I guess I don't even know how to phrase it. The question. I'm totally stumped right now. Like, I guess this is so out of my wheelhouse. It's like I have no idea how you leave something so unrecognizable and have a successful painting. It's just not something I do, which is why I appreciate what you're doing so much. So I guess my question is, do you decide up front things that are just going to be completely unimportant and then just focus on that one area? But I think you maybe already answered that.
No, I'm trying to understand it myself. It's like, again, a lot of this is like sort of what happened, and I'm not like necessarily curating it. So yeah, something like that can back there, I might have had the thought to go back to it, like, oh, I'm just gonna mask this in, like sort of keep the value and color all close, because I know I generally want it to like sit back a bit further and be less important. And it also was like in shadow compared to like the yellow coffee cup, like it was like a totally different space in a way.
Right.
But then like maybe as I paint up the things that are closer, like I don't know, the pumpkins or that edge of the paper, like I think that the can in the back started to make more sense in relation to those more developed
Right.
areas. So I'll go back to things if I feel like they're not holding up that area anymore. Like if it feels like the painting starts to collapse, or that like maybe it's too unrecognizable to the point where it just like I don't believe the tabletop anymore or something like that. And then I'll go back and try to like resolve that in a way,
Yeah.
but still kind of keep it a little more out of focus.
Does your whole painting start like the doll in the can in the back? Is the whole thing laid in really loose and rough like that, and then you bring in the pumpkins and the cup and then you tighten up the things in the foreground later?
Yeah, well, the whole painting is laid in kind of broadly, but things like the edges or like the higher chroma moment, those are all keyed from like at pretty much the beginning, if I can manage it. Like I think that edge of the paper was there from the first session and it didn't change. Like that.
Really? You were just like, I know I want that there, and stuck with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't always work out that way. I think to go back to your second question, there are things that like I'm excited about that could get completely like repainted, and I'll change my mind if it doesn't actually work out the way I like. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really need to take from painters like you is just how design oriented you are. You know, I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but because I went, well, I don't know, maybe I can't blame where I went. Maybe it's just my personality. I have no idea why. But when I was in school, and even many years after school, I feel like I was too focused on showing off my ability to make things look like things, and not thinking of the painting as a composition as much as I should. And so it sounds like your approach, you're much more mature of an artist, especially than I was at 27, where it's like you're like, it seems like you're thinking of the whole picture and of a composition more than you are just let me make a realistic pumpkin and a realistic folded paper and cup. It seems way more abstract, your approach.
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that?
No, I think that's true. I do feel like I probably look more at the painting than at the setup.
That's really an interesting statement. Okay. Because it doesn't matter if it looks like the setup as much as it matters if it's a successful composition.
Is it just me, or the rest of you guys also get weirdly excited when you order new paint?
Because I don't know about you, but when I get paint in the mail, it feels like Santa just dropped my Christmas presents off at my doorstep. With Vasari paint, my paint of choice and the podcast sponsor, it's even more exciting. And let me show you why. Because when Vasari shows up, it comes in this incredible box where each tube lays in this little compartment perfectly formed around the tube in this nice soft foam. And it's surrounded by velvet, red velvet. Now you got to ask yourself, if a paint comes so carefully protected and surrounded by red velvet, you got to wonder if this paint is worthy of royalty. It is. Vasari is. So if you haven't tried Vasari, you're seriously missing out. And the thing about Vasari, it's not only the best paint out there, it's also made by an incredible company that's been around for 30 years and knows its customer by name. Do yourself a favor, go to vasaricolors.com and order yourself some for your next painting.
Yeah, or I guess I like the word design. Like it's like it doesn't necessarily have to even do with where the objects are in real life, but just how the edges or like colors are kind of calibrated to each other, or like the dynamic that the shapes next to each other. And yeah, I think that really, like painters like Morandi really resonate with me a lot. Like I absolutely love like just like these big kind of shape groupings. And then the refinement is, I think, fun, but I think of that more as, I don't know, I guess that like taps into some kind of like, I love to draw, and it like scratches that itch for me, like to be able to just like render a pumpkin or like pull out a smaller brush and just like really get into something. But if it's not like anchored to a larger design, then I start to get a bit anxious. Like, why am I like getting into this drawing if it's not quite in sync with, or if it doesn't belong to like a larger world, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So the question I get asked a lot, that's not particularly hard for me to answer, but it would be hard for me to answer if I were you,
Oh boy.
is how do you know when you're done?
Oh, I feel like everyone asks.
Yeah, like because there's so much unfinished stuff here. There are things here that I absolutely love about your painting that I would never be able to do because of my
Yeah.
temperament. For example, like there's this wiped out area right here. You've got this crisp edge, and then you've got this really jagged edge, and it's all so interesting. I mean, I love it, but I know that I'd be like, well, that's not how it looks,
Yeah.
you know? And you have this ability to just walk away. But it seems like to someone like me, like somewhat arbitrary. You know, how do you, it's the same way that abstract painting in its purest form, where it's non-representational, completely non-representational, seems to me, where it's very difficult to do really well because you don't have an objective goal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like with a portrait, I have an objective goal: paint that person to look like that person. Yes, I
Yeah.
want a good composition, of course. Yes, to all the other artistic things, but my goal, my initial objective goal, get it to look like that person. That's a huge, very clear destination I'm headed toward, right? With
Yeah.
you, like, well, like an abstract painter, you could just keep on splashing paint on all day long, all for weeks at a time, and keep making different versions of a good painting. How do you know when you just stop?
Yeah, I honestly, I feel like sometimes I just give up on them. Like, or it gets so like,
I don't know what else to do at this point.
yeah, or I just start to get like a bit anxious. Like if things start getting too closed in, then I feel like my options are kind of becoming more and more limited. And
Oh,
then I
wow.
start achieving like that more playful mode. And then I can like physically feel myself entering like a finish mode. And then everything starts to kind of, yeah, like again, it's like claustrophobic, like the walls are closing in. And maybe this is like
Interesting.
kind of like that just in general. My personality, I think, is like kind of scattered. But Yeah, I think I'm just very,
Wow.
I don't want that experience when I'm working of the pressure of having to like produce an outcome. I
Hmm.
just feel like I really like get paralyzed with that. So I'm actually really impressed by like people that can do that, like with commission work or like yeah, I remember talking to like Alex Spinezzi about that, like how he can like really like just like produce a painting, like make a painting. And
Well, you're
um
making paintings?
well,
You
I
mean
don't
just
know.
the level of finish that he achieves? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or just like there is like a product to show for like all of this like stuff that we do. I don't know.
Oh, I don't
I
know. I think I don't, yeah, I get what you're saying.
like I'm painting all the time, but I don't feel like I'm making paintings, if that makes sense.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's darn sad. Well, you got one guy here that says you're definitely making paintings. They're
Okay.
gorgeous.
I'll take it.
No, I get it though. I get what you're saying. It would be interesting to sit in a room with someone like you and someone like Justin Wood. Do you know
Yeah.
Justin Wood?
Yeah. Oh, I know his work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Get you guys in a room in front of a shrink and figure out what's different, what's different about your brains
Uh-huh.
because you're both brilliant artists, but I can't imagine him doing what you do or you doing what he does because you
Yeah.
just talked about the anxiety that starts to,
Mhm.
starts to seep into your mind as you get more and more refined. I suspect that anxiety exists in his head until he's getting more refined,
Mhm.
right? And it'd be interesting if there's some sort of, I don't know, personality difference that coincides with that type of, those types of aesthetic choices.
Yeah. Yeah. I genuinely, I think about that so much, like how much of this is just like the only way that I can work.
Yeah, I
Like
wonder.
for studying, like I definitely tried to work like everybody around me who was doing really great things, but and this kind of goes back to the initial like having to leave that setting of being surrounded by other people,
Yeah.
because I think there is just like a way of working that is suitable to each person's temperament maybe. And um yeah, this is kind of the only way that I found myself like being able to like really being engaged with the process and also like enjoy it in a way. Because I think I can work in other ways, but I just find it unpleasant in a way.
Huh.
Um, so yeah, like this is the way that I can keep myself excited to do what I'm doing.
Hmm. So the question that I have about that, on top of
Mm.
what I've already mentioned, is it is that temperament made or were you born with it? The whole nature versus nurture thing. And the
Mhm.
reason I wonder that is because let's say you were born this way and this is the only way that you're comfortable working.
Yeah.
Then have you thought of what a blessing it is that you ended up meeting Peter Van Dyke as your first teacher? Because if that is your temperament and you ended up with someone else, someone who's much, much more rigid and refined and classical in their approach, who knows where you'd be? That you might have been struggling. Your temperament might just not have fit with those teachers, and it might have made you incredibly frustrated.
Yeah. Well,
Unless you are the way you are because of Peter Van Dyke. That's the question. Is you're either incredibly blessed to have met him, someone who syncs up with your temperament, or your temperament is a result of him.
yeah, well, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Like, I think this goes back to what I said about I don't think I'd be doing this if I didn't run into him,
Yeah.
because I just felt like personality wise there was just like such a resonance for me,
Yeah, I
um,
bet.
that it felt like like I found the thing that I was supposed to be doing. And I really don't think that, like, if I didn't have that experience, or like you said, if I had something much tighter from earlier on, I think I would have burnt out and like not been able to continue it.
What a gift. And to think
Yeah.
how many
I think
artists
lucky.
didn't sync up with him that might have been like, I can't do this. This Peter Van Dyke way of painting is not for me. But you and him just jived. He was just a perfect teacher for you. It's such a gift.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm sure, like, I don't know how much of my personality I was born with. I'm sure there's a little bit of that. And just like how you grow up and stuff is like all layered into how you end up working, probably. Yeah, and I think like by nature, I'm probably like an overthinker, like kind of more anxious, and so having a way of working that's more like playful is like super important for me, because
Hmm.
it isn't um yeah, I think that's had to be built, like the keeping the studio like a sacred playground in a way.
Mm-hmm. So you think it is mostly nature,
I
your
Yeah,
approach?
I think so. Yeah.
I would suspect it is too. My experience, my own personal experience is that I went through a lot of nurture before I landed back on my nature. Does that make sense? I mean, I tried to mold myself to this person or that person
Yeah.
until finally I just fell right back into where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But it sounds like
Yeah.
with you from day one, you had your nature nurtured in a way, where you didn't have to go through that roller coaster. You just met the right guy, the right teacher at the right in the beginning. That's what it seems like to me, but only you could answer that, really.
I think so. I mean, I reached out to a lot of people, like especially during COVID. I just like email blasted like all the
Hmm.
artists on Instagram that I found. And so I was trying to broaden my scope as much as possible. And I think I'm very careful to, or maybe, I don't know, I do reflect a lot on like making sure I'm not staying stagnant, and making sure that there isn't something like um like that I don't know, I guess, about what I could be doing. And
Right.
so yeah, like going again to Lyme or like a more academic setting was really important for me to like counteract the nature, I guess. Um
Yeah, but it didn't
yeah,
seem to strip you. That's why I suspect it is nature. Because if you had gone there, if you had gone to PAFA for 4 years
yeah,
and discovered this way of painting for yourself, and then you spend 4 years in 2 years of study and 2 years of teaching, that's the same amount of time in the presence of all these masters
yeah.
at Lyme. It stands to reason that if this wasn't innate in you, you would have completely changed the way you paint during that 4 years. But you didn't.
Yeah, and I do like that more analytical way of working too, is just like I just find it like so interesting in a different way.
Yeah.
Like I at one point I got like really into anatomy, and it was just like so fun. It almost felt like at a certain point it wasn't even like to help the drawing. It was just like as a subject it was super cool.
You
Um
sound like you might be a little obsessive.
yeah, probably,
Well, I
yeah.
mean, I think it's a good thing because I thought about that from the beginning when you said, "Oh, he had me draw a block," and I totally blew it. And
Mhm.
you just had this. What I was hearing from you is I just had this attitude like I'm just going to conquer this block. And then he put shapes on the board, and you're like, "Ah, this is hard. I'm going to conquer this thing." Then you learn anatomy, and you become obsessed with anatomy. It just seems like you're hungry for personal growth and just sort of get obsessed with things as they come your way.
Yeah, maybe I'm like a little stubborn too, I think.
Are you?
Like if there's something frustrating, I kind of like it like really bothers me. Like I need to not fix it, but I need to like figure it out, I guess. But my apparently, according to my mom, I've been that way since I was born. So
Yeah. And I don't
yeah.
think everyone's like that. A lot of people are totally content not knowing things or being good at certain things. All
Yeah.
right, let's look at another painting. So is this done at Lime?
No, that was actually done at Studio Incaminati. I taught a workshop
God, that's
recently.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Man, you can draw.
Thanks.
Jeez. Let's see. Maybe I'll go back to the other screen here. Is that
Oh,
self-portrait?
yeah, that was like a sketchbook drawing.
Jeez, man, that's so pretty. Is that from a mirror or from a photo?
A mirror. Yeah.
Jeez, that's beautiful. Hmm. Forgive me, for those who were listening, you really should be watching right now as I pan through all this stuff. So tell me about setting up still lifes. How much effort do you put in? How much time do you put into setting these things up?
Um, more than I would like to, and oftentimes I don't use the setup that I set up, or
Wait, what do you
like
mean?
I try to set things up, and then I never really like what I set up, so I kind of end up like maybe I'll see it from a different angle as I walk like through my studio, and then I'll like paint it from a different part of the room.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I feel so like I never know what I'm doing when I'm setting something up.
That's how
And
I
maybe
feel with still life too.
right? It's like what do you put like what do
It's
these
really
mean?
hard.
And then it's like so self-conscious, like they're gonna think there's like a narrative to or like a deep meaning to like these objects, and there like really isn't. So
Right. What is she saying with the three wishbones?
I know it's like actually I
I
don't know.
wish I could stop eating so much sugar. That's what the whole thing's about.
Thank you. Yeah, I need to
I'm gonna hit myself over the head with a brick if I don't quit this sugar habit. I got you
and
figured out.
I'll just like email you the photos before I post them and what do you think of the caption?
Yeah,
Um,
no, I get that. I've tried to set up still lifes and I could spend hours trying to
yeah,
set them up.
it's the worst. I almost wish like I could have someone else do it and then
But isn't
just
that
show.
part of the art though? I mean, it really is.
Yeah. Yeah, but I do like I guess I don't know, like this cake was like someone's birthday and I just liked the shape of like the chocolate chips. So I was like, okay, this is gonna go here um and then I'll reuse a lot of setups. So I'll just perpetually be like putting objects down or taking things out. And so I guess the setups tend to organically happen over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of the times I'll also just change it while I'm painting it. Like if I don't like the shape of something, I'll just switch it out with another object or just take it out completely.
Do you ever sand your painting parts of your paintings down or scrape them down and add objects? Or do you just paint
Uh,
right on top of old paintings?
Both, yeah.
Both.
Yeah, like the left corner there was like a plate of muffins, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I see it now. And you just left the ghost there.
Yeah, I had it painted
See, I
more.
wouldn't think that would be okay, but I love it. I don't understand how you think.
I think it was, but it's like so much of it too is just like indecisiveness, I think, because I put it in, I had painted it out, and then I couldn't decide if I should put something there or not. So I just kind of,
So you just left it the way it is. Yeah, I wish I could somehow like get inside your head and understand exactly how you think. I don't get it.
I don't need to, it like feels so chaotic sometimes. I'm not,
No, what I mean it as a compliment. I mean, it's like now I can see the muffins now. I thought it was just this cool abstract thing you got going, and
mm,
now it's totally obvious what it is. But again, I would have just painted it out because that's
mm,
the rules. Like, where you
right.
don't have any rules. That's brilliant.
Mm.
Hmm. Oh, let me go back to the main page again. Pull up a couple more here. That's so cool. So is this another birthday party?
Yeah, that was my friend got me a little cake for my birthday. So I
That's brilliant.
obviously didn't eat it and I painted it instead.
How big is this piece?
Oh, that's small. I think it's just like 9 by 12.
Oh, it's actually bigger than I thought. I thought it was going to be like 5 by 5 or something.
No,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's around 9 by 12.
And do you still have this painting, or did it get sold? Where is it? In London? It was open in London?
Yeah, that one sold. Yeah, it was part of the Hampstead Art Society's summer exhibition, I think.
Wow, congrats. That's amazing. All right, I'm going to pull up a portrait here.
Hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, this is gorgeous. It's so different than what I do. That's why I like it. I hate looking at my own stuff. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just gorgeous. I love the simplicity in the eyes and the ears.
Mm.
Is this a live model?
Yeah, that's a live model. And I've tried to work from photos and I really just like I can't seem to like I just don't really know how to use them. Like maybe it's part of having this like open-endedness of working from life where I'm like struggling to find the drawing and then like weird stuff happens on the surface. But
Mm,
things like the ear or eye like getting less resolved, I feel like is just kind of because I'm
you're out of
confused.
time.
Yeah, out of time or confused or
That's really
delusional.
modest of you to say. 'Cause I agree with you. There is something about working from life that forces you to make decisions that you might not make if you had all the time in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's like so much room for interpretation
Hmm.
too. I don't know, maybe the model's moving a bit or like their complexion is changing color, or the light's changing. And yeah, I
The
think
light's
that,
changing. Why would the light change?
oh, my studio is like not like everything but north.
Oh no, that sucks.
But I kind of like it. Like, I don't know, it just, I like the options for, because the color
Okay.
can change drastically. And um, I think that idea too of like looking more at the painting. I think when it's a little bit chaotic in real life, then I have to design the painting more consciously.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Uh, so I don't know. I guess I kind of like um, yeah, the open-endedness.
So I'm you were born in what, 2000 or 99, something like that?
89.
99. So my
Mhm.
kids are almost your age. My kids were born in 2003, my twins. I have another one who's '07, but um and they're studying art with me. And so obviously they both want to be artists.
Mhm.
How have you gone about starting your career in this generation? It's because I feel like when I started back in the early 2000s, it was a completely different world. You know, art magazines, art galleries, no social media, really.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, everyone just did it the same way. We,
Yeah.
you got into a good art gallery, hopefully they put you in magazines and put you in shows and so on and so forth, and that's what everyone did. What is it that you're doing, and or what is it that what are your plans in
Mhm.
pursuing this career? Obviously, you've already started, but I'm just curious what your plan of attack is from here on out, and what it's been so far.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what it's been so far is, I mean, it's hard to describe because I don't have context for like any other way
Yeah.
that it is. I do feel like at times the information overload is like extremely overwhelming as far as like the thing about influence. Again, it's like I open my phone and I see a million different things,
Hmm.
or and like contemporary work is just like so broad and like exciting in so many different directions that I found it like even more important for me to like to always be I guess, compiling images of work that I like and like keeping them close, and also thinking about like what's the work that I admire versus the work that I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just trying to be more organized with that. Or also like trying to look back to more like historical artists too as a source of like um, inspiration, I guess, or guidance in that way. But career wise, I do teaching. I do a lot of like online tutoring and then like traveling for workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, if there's like opportunities to show, then I'll also show my work. But I
So you don't
don't
have a gallery right now?
I work with the gallery Stephen Francis Fine Art in Virginia,
Okay.
and that's the only one right now. And then I'll just apply to like open calls and stuff.
Really? So your whole career is just teaching and mostly open calls and stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, teaching workshops, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Well, that's not that much different than 20 years ago then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Are you selling work through social media?
yeah, I do get people reaching out on like honestly mostly Instagram. Some people will like email me through my website. But yeah, I think I sell most of the stuff just through individuals reaching out.
Really?
Or through the gallery, or yeah, like shows that I participate in. Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. So what's your 5 and 10 year plan?
Oh man, a quiz. Um, I don't know. I
Just
genuinely
taking it one
like,
day at a time?
yeah, or like one, like 6 months at a time, maybe.
Okay. So what's your six
Um,
month plan?
my 6 month plan is that I have workshops lined up for this year. I have I have a couple in the US, and then in the summer I go abroad to teach. So that I've been doing like annually, I guess. And keeping up with the uh online tutoring. And then yeah, there's like possible shows in the works that haven't been like fully confirmed yet. So I'm kind of in the process of like making still life paintings for that potentially. Um, yeah, that's my 6 month plan.
Okay.
That
That works.
I know, but
So, well, you probably know my last question because you've watched the podcast. So, if you have one piece of advice that you either wish you had or you did that really made a difference in your art journey, what would it be?
um, one that I wish I had. Sorry, what was
Either
that?
you wish you had or that you did have. Just a piece of
Yeah,
advice that you'd like to share that you think is would be useful.
yeah. There's like so many moments I think of, but there's this one I guess really like vivid moment with the painter Scott Noel.
Hmm.
Uh, I remember I was just like really struggling with like my personal life, and I was probably like 20 or something, and just like overwhelmed by like the thought of doing this as a career and all of that stuff that I think is natural to be hit with around that time. And he was literally just like paint through it, like whatever you
Mm.
do, just like don't stop painting. And it was so simple, and at the time it almost felt like harsh in a way, like
Like
it
get
felt like,
over it kind of thing.
oh yeah, it felt kind of like, oh, like toughen up.
Hmm.
uh, and but yeah, as time went on, I think about that so much. Like anytime things get kind of like, I don't know, like foggy or unclear, or even now, like I don't know, I don't have anything beyond a 6 month plan, but I think he's just like, so he's been like so right about that, I guess. And I see him as being like just such a strong example of someone who like
Mm.
just never stops. Um, yeah, and like it doesn't always have to be like, it's not always going to be like enjoyable or peaceful or fun, but to just like no matter what, don't stop.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, hey, Mina, it's been so fun to get to know you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to the Undraped Artist Podcast. If you enjoyed it, subscribe. And if you could, leave a comment or review. That really helps the channel. Please share the show with your friends, and if you're feeling generous, consider a monthly donation at theundrapedartist.com. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week.